Fancy meeting you here. So we are playing around with my camera. Apparently it's dual recording, and I apologize for the way I look. I am incredibly sleep deprived. I haven't had a decent night's sleep in over a week, so it's really kind of getting to me. This video is for subscribers exclusively, and you're probably wondering how this can be exclusively for subscribers if it's public. And it is because you guys are receiving notification that the video is up, as opposed to other people who may not see this video except accidentally, maybe sometime in the future, you know, through random scrolling. So the information won't be useful to them because of how much time may have passed. So yeah, dual recording, this is pretty cool. Now, so this video is about the new moon conjunct Uranus coming up in like the next 72 hours. And there was another astrologer who prompted me to remember this and think about it while I'm walking around in a daze. So here's the thing, right? So there's this astrologer who, bless his heart, you know, going through hard times. I posted up for him because he's, you know, he's, you know, looking at being homeless and all sort of stuff. And he's got a new video up he just put up in the last 24 hours. So he's basically complaining, you know, about how viewership is down and there's blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, a lot of the old astrologers, a lot of the old guard from YouTube are complaining about the, you know, the clown party that's out here. You know, and that's what happens when things get popular and they look easy to do. So anyway, the interesting thing about it is this guy has his comments turned off. So there's literally no way to reach him to give him some information, which is really what he needs. Because the reality is he's hard to listen to. He will put you to sleep. He's not pretty. And listen, as a man, he doesn't actually have to be pretty. Lord knows, we got some guys out here who look like they're literally the blowhard drunks from the local bar, or there's a couple of them look like freaking derelicts, right? Homeless derelicts, and they're doing just fine. But with him not being very pretty and being, you know, sleepy time Joe there when you're listening to him, it can make it a little challenging. And of course the lighting is really bad in the video, and he's, you know, clearly filming out of some room. I don't know. It's just, it's not easy to watch. And this is video. So what I'm saying is there are a lot of pieces of information that would be helpful for him to make a more appealing video as opposed to a podcast or an audio or a written piece. But, you know, he's got his comments turned off. So he's complaining and lamenting all this stuff. And at the same time, he has turned off or removed, made an obstacle in terms of getting the information that he needs to fix this problem. I guess he knows better. I don't know. So the information part is critical here, right? So, and that's what got me to thinking about it. So the thing about it is with this new moon coming up, conjunct Uranus, at the same time that the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is being activated, there's some things I want you guys to know about because this is important. So the first thing is this, right? With the new moon conjunct Uranus, it is activating the Uranian side of this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that's being activated right now. Now Uranus, I don't want to alarm anybody, but Uranus is absolutely the chaos principle. Uranus is very much about chaos and information, okay? And upheaving the status quo and upending the things that you thought were stable and true and would never change. Uranus is the ultimate stress test, right? 45, that faded pile of human stinking excrement that is, you know, in trial now and here in the U.S. as a former resident, has strong Uranus in his chart. He's also born on an eclipse, but he's got strong Uranus in his chart, and he has absolutely been Uranus. He has absolutely been a stress test for the country, you know, and the office and all that sort of stuff. So Uranus is the stress test. It's also information, and it's clarity. So one of the things that we can expect around and it's a new moon. One of the things we can expect around this new moon with Uranus is what feels like the darkest nights of the soul. This is why I was trying to warn you guys, if you're fragile, right, or you need to have yourself managed with medications, this is not the time to overconfidently think you can do without it. This is not the time, because even the best of us are struggling to kind of get through this time period without losing our crap. Because new moons represent the darkest nights of the month, because there's no light being reflected by the moon. The moon is sitting in front of the sun. There's no light being reflected back to us. We can't see anything. It's as dark as it's going to get in terms of lunar cycles. Uranus rules lightning. Well, when do you see lightning most clearly? In the dark. When we're in pitch black darkness, that is when a lightning strike illuminates everything. Okay? So, we can expect this new moon conjunct Uranus to give us what will feel like or seem like, at least momentarily, the darkest night of the soul. Okay? Personally, as a group, all this sort of stuff. So these are things we need to keep in mind as we're heading into this new moon. Now, for those of you who have not been watching the news, and I know there's a lot of you, because all the MAGA supporters who watch selective pieces of curated news don't watch this video channel. It's getting hairy out there. It's getting very, very hairy. So the thing about it is, with the animal kingdom, typically what happens is when there's a threat, when the animals sense there's danger or a threat, the first thing they do is go underground. They go and bury themselves as far beneath the surface as possible and try to avoid contact with everything up above, okay? And I'm sure a lot of you have been doing the same thing. So you've been burying your head in the sand, you know, or avoiding anything that's distressing, because there is a part of you that is unavoidably understanding that there's a real threat and was a present danger around, and it's been building, right? So we're coming into that climactic period of time right now. So this is a good time to pay attention to what's going on in the news, because it's getting hairy out there. Now, with that said, because this is the new moon conjunct Uranus, this new moon and Uranus is going to give us clarity, but it's also going to, because it's the chaos principle, it's going to give us clarity in, the conditions of unutterable chaos, either personally or at large. So we need to be aware of this so we can kind of hold ourselves together as best we can, breathe through it, and manage. Now, one of the interesting things that's happened right now is in Texas, they've had just unprecedented rain and flooding, because half of Texas appears to be underwater. And if you haven't seen the state of Texas, that's a big-ass place. So notably, Texas is full of people who are supporting this Zionist genocide with Palestine. And I told you Netanyahu was a monster. You know, sent the red heifer out there, blah, blah, blah. And now they've brought down hell and damnation on themselves in the form of, you know, the great floods, as it were. Interesting to note that everywhere you have large groups of people who are doing a group think and focus on something is typically where we're seeing a lot of this gloom and doom sort of prophesying disasters that are happening, right? It happened in Haiti, which is a huge concentration of voodoo, as it were, and also now in, you know, the Bible Belt and in Texas. And I'm saying this not because these people have, you know, brought this on themselves and deserve it. What I'm saying is that groupthink is powerful. Your mind can create anything. I mean, there's enough of you concentrating on the same thing over and over and over again, like a chant or a mantra, right? You're going to bring it on yourselves, because energy is neutral. Energy doesn't make judgment calls. Energy goes and concentrates where it's being called, okay? So if you've been spending all this time, generations after generations, in each and every one of your individual churches in unison, all chanting a mantra, you know, about the end of the world and, you know, disasters and damnation, you're drawing the energy to yourself. You're creating or manifesting the very thing that you're talking about. You're not going to manifest. This is literally like black magic. You're not going to manifest it and think it's going to land in your neighbor's backyard and avoid you. Energy goes where it is called and concentrated. So right now, Texas, which is also participating in this whole end of the world suicide cult other people seem to be, you know, raising the ceiling for, now they're being flooded. In the meantime, you know, Netanyahu is determined to bring on World War III. So all of this is to say, my friends, that while we're under this new moon with Uranus and Uranus principle and the chaos principle, right, it is very important that we collectively, as best we can, focus on riding this storm out and safe haven, safe harbor, peace, cooling the temperatures, right? Bringing people back down to like sanity, you know, not this religious wackadoodle death cult thing. We have to participate, and this is how we have to participate to offset that. Because if we do nothing and pretend that it's all going to take care of themselves, It's not, right? And the greater concentration of energy is going to win. So that's that. So I'm not saying any of this to scare you. I'm saying this is a call to action. This is the time we need to get serious about where we're putting our thoughts and really putting the effort into drawing in or balancing out these really ridiculous destructive energies. Now, for you and your personal chart. Now, for those of you who don't have a time of birth, here's what you're going to do. You can find literally the horoscope wheels anywhere online, right? It's just a big circle with 12 divisions, and each division has a sign, assigned to it, a little slice of the pie. And you can just use that if you don't want to draw it out. Find the house or the location where your sign is at, and then count counterclockwise. You're going backwards against the rotation of a clock, and look for the house that Taurus sits in. So you, wherever your sun sign is, if you're in Aries, you're house 1. If you're Virgo, find the house where Virgo is, and that's house 1, and then count until you find Taurus, right? So it'll be like Aries, Taurus, 1, 2. So the second house would be your solar second house. If you're Virgo, it would be Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sag, on and on around the chart until you find Taurus. And whatever number house that is, that's your solar house. This is where you're going to feel this new moon Uranus activation in your chart. So once you have that, okay, this is the area of life that, as a general rule, is going to be affected by this new moon conjunct Uranus. So expect chaos and upsets and things that are just, holy crap, I didn't see this coming. Now, the good news is that you can get a tremendous amount of clarity and honesty. There's a whole lot of stuff that's going to be revealed that couldn't have been revealed otherwise. So it's kind of like yanking the veil away and stripping, the illusions, right? The lightning flash in the dark that illuminates everything, even things you didn't realize were out there. So this could be a tremendously good thing, as long as we work with it and use it to our advantage, okay? So I'm going to go through this new moon conjunct Uranus through the houses, and when you have the wheel up, you can count and figure out what your solar house is if you don't know your time of birth in the actual house. So the new moon conjunct Uranus in the first house means that you can expect upheavals and drastic changes, possibly some challenges to your physical self during this new moon Uranus period. Give yourself 72 hours, a day before, maybe even a couple days, maybe 2 days before and a day after the new moon, okay? Be very, very careful. Physical accidents are entirely possible at this time. Also, you could find yourself in confrontations with people unexpectedly just because you're breathing, right? You just look the wrong way. The new moon conjunct Uranus in your second house is absolutely going to affect your finances and your resources. So look for things to break, look for bills to appear that you weren't expecting, look for anything that's going to cost you money to cost you more than you expected at this time. This could also prove to be, with anybody in these houses, wherever this shows up, this can also prove to be a winning lottery ticket kind of moment, because Jupiter is still involved. Jupiter's in the shadows. It's the Uranus side being activated, but absolutely Jupiter is still involved. It's Jupiter-Uranus activation this week with this new moon. So it's also entirely possible that windfalls, lucky breaks, finding money on the ground, all this sort of stuff could turn up at this time. The new moon conjunct Uranus in the third house is absolutely going to increase the chances of car accidents and, issues with vehicles and schedules. So be mindful of your areas, and also too your neighbors, right? So neighbors at home, neighbors at work, if you work in a cubicle farm, these are things you have to be aware of. So people may be wearing their crazy pants a little bit more enthusiastically these days than usual. Also, important information could be revealed accidentally, documents, information, things that nobody knew about. So I'm not much for gossip, but there's some revelations that are definitely possible at this time that people weren't thinking were ever going to slip out. The new moon conjunct Uranus in the fourth house is absolutely going to involve family matters, right? Family matters, end-of-life matters, domestic matters, things of that nature. So be aware that the family may be a little bit more fragile or a little bit more unstable at this time if you already have issues in the family that are, on thin ice, right? Riding on a high wire. Just be very, very gentle and understand that this is a time when things may break. So this is a giant stress test in our home lives, in our families, and certainly where the roots of our foundations are concerned. The new moon conjunct Uranus in the fifth house is absolutely, well, I guess it depends on how you use it. So the new moon conjunct Uranus in the 5th house could do a couple of things. So on the one hand, you may find yourself getting involved in some type of explosive fling with someone new. But I will warn you, if you get involved with anybody and you're carrying this in your 5th house right now, that person could turn out to be a lot more psychotic and disruptive to your life than you think. So you might want to be careful with that. If you're already having affairs, you know who you are. This is a time when all those secrets may come out in the open. So there won't be any lying about it now. You may have to, you may have to face up and pay the piper. In terms of creativity and or children, which is also coming in the 5th house, this is, again, a very fertile time. So there's a lot of inspiration and transcendent stuff that could be happening, a lot of evolutionary growth happening in those two arenas. If you gamble, which I do not approve of, anything that is gamble and risk-taking financially, this could be literally win big or go home. So you may find yourself making a jackpot or losing your house, right? Just literally losing the entire bank. I'm not a fan of gambling. I don't recommend it, but do be aware that the stakes are much higher now because there is the fickle finger of fate at play. Lady Luck is out there having a good old time playing pranks, so things are not necessarily going to go according to plan at this time. The new moon conjunct Uranus in the 6th house could bring on health crises and or changes in work and routines. So be very mindful of hygiene, physical health, physical considerations. So you could be having a breakdown or a breakthrough on a physical level when it comes to things that matter in the day-to-day operations of life. So be aware. Also be very mindful of the food that you're eating and the supplements that you're taking. Things are not necessarily, if there's anything that you didn't know or weren't aware of about them, you're about to find out. So there's that. Also with the 6th house, because Uranus in the 6th house, they have a weird relationship with each other. So your nervous system may be a little bit more overwrought at this time than usual. So take care to give yourself plenty of extra buffer time to fall asleep and to manage your routines so they're not quite as stimulating or less stimulating than usual around this time. The new moon conjunct Uranus in the 7th house promises that relationships are going to go through the biggest stress test ever on the planet, next to having Pluto transit. So for those of you who are in committed relationships or committed business partnerships, you may find that it is nearly impossible to see eye to eye with the people that you're supposed to be team members with, right? Life or business, it's the same thing. We're supposed to be working as a team. This is also a time when sudden and abrupt breaks in relationships may occur. So some of you may find yourself suddenly single or suddenly divorced from a partnership without realizing it. This is definitely a time of coming to some hard truths and, more importantly, taking some action. Now, with Jupiter in the background with this Jupiter-Uranus activation during this new moon, this also represents for everybody liberation, but it's more noticeable in the 7th house. So many of you may find yourself walking out the door or having your partner walk out the door literally without any warning, except, gotta go, see you later, goodbye. So be aware. New moon conjunct Uranus in the 8th house. The 8th house is death, taxes, insurance, and legacies. So with new moon conjunct Uranus in the 8th house, there could be some surprises in store in terms of taxes, insurance. Double check your insurance paperwork, make sure it's up to snuff and nothing's changed. And also legacy. So the 8th house is kind of a weird house because, the basic stuff is there, but also it's a very deep psychological house. So some of you, if you're not having any of that, which we hope you don't, you may find yourself having, incredible epiphanies, and it just lightning strikes of sudden consciousness and awareness and growth, evolutionary leaps and growth psychologically. So this could be a powerful time to, again, the whole thing with Jupiter and Uranus is liberation, to liberate yourself from the chains of the past or to have some flash of insight that really helps you break free from the things that have been tormenting you all this time. That's kind of nice. The new moon conjunct Uranus in the 9th house. The 9th house is the house of higher consciousness, higher education, long distance travel, and foreigners, as well as the law. So the new moon conjunct Uranus in the 9th house could have you coming face to face with your principles and what you actually believe in and what you're going to do about it. The new moon conjunct Uranus in the ninth house is actually not a bad place to have it. Uranus is comfortable in the ninth house, but it can make you a bit of a rebel or a rebel without a cause. Because Jupiter is part of the Jupiter-Uranus activation with this new moon conjunct Uranus, there's a lot of protection here. So many of you may be finding divine strokes of luck if you've earned it, karmically speaking, or coming face to face with some real, like, you said it, but did you really mean it? Kind of put your what is it, money where your mouth is sort of stuff. So this is a time of testing in terms of what you actually believe and what you want to believe moving forward. New moon conjunct Uranus in the 10th house, house of career, public standing, reputation, and professional status. So for many of you, this is going to begin a cycle of unexpected elevation or de-elevation, falls from grace. So, it's literally not even what you deserve, it's what you need for you to evolve and move forward with your life. So look for ideas and opportunities, because remember, Jupiter's with Uranus through all of this, right? So there's some blessings in here hidden in the background, you just got to look for it. So in this particular case, look for the ways that this is going to set you free or elevate or give you opportunities to elevate yourself far beyond the limitations of the position that you have been in at this time when the event occurs. So it will be good if you're willing to embrace change and freedom for yourself. And freedom means freedom from the bondage in your head. The new moon conjunct Uranus in the 11th house is a fantastic and unnerving place for it to be. So Uranus loves being in the 11th house because that is its personal house. However, there is such thing as too much of a good thing. So with new moon conjunct Uranus in the 11th house, you may find yourself in the next couple of months like literally thrown into whole new communities and social circles and just a whole different stratosphere as far as what you're doing with your life and your spare time and the people you connect with and network with, because it's a networking house. The problem is there is such thing as too much of a good thing. So Uranus in Uranus's house with that new moon and Jupiter there expanding everything, turning this into a giant chaos factory, could present you with some very unexpected and impossible to predict experiences coming randomly from strangers at large. So do be aware of that and be very mindful of the people in your environment. So if things look weird or suspicious, make sure if you see something, say something. Other than that, this is a great time to break free and to pursue all the things you didn't know that you were able to pursue or you would ever have the liberation to pursue before now. So this is actually a really, really good time. Right? For those of you in poly relationships, this is going to be a time of incredible stress testing. But if you can get through this, you're going to find your relationships are stronger and even more creative and amazing than they were before. So yay, team poly. The new moon conjunct Uranus in the 12th house is a bit like those underwater mines that they put in the ocean. So you can't see them, you don't really know they're there until they explode, and even then after they explode, it takes a couple minutes for them to really, for that whole explosion to come to the surface, and then it's like, holy crap, what just happened? Unfortunately, like all explosions, it kills pretty much everything around it. So those underwater mines is classic description of this new moon conjunct Uranus in the 12th house. So you may feel like you're going crazy. More than anybody else, you may feel like you're going crazy as things erupt to the surface of consciousness in your mind, either through dreams or clairvoyant visions or like sounds, like you're literally going to feel like you're schizophrenic, hearing and seeing things. And this isn't to say that you're not. You may suddenly find yourself diagnosed with something. But the most important thing is that clarity and honesty and truth and coming out of confusion is the most important blessing and gift that's coming from this new moon conjunct Uranus in your 12th house. Because remember, Jupiter is there, and Jupiter is the planet of angels. So there's a lot of protection around you right now. So you may feel like you're going crazy, but there's really important good stuff happening here. So work with it. It'll be okay. and lean into it. Lean into the process of trusting that you are being protected and you're being cared for and you're going through a process, and these things matter. So that is the new moon conjunct Uranus as it rolls through houses in our personal houses on a big, esoteric, large level. Again, the chaos principle is at work, and if you haven't been paying attention to the news, I don't blame you, but you're missing a whole lot of information. And ultimately, Uranus is information. So we are coming down the pike in some really troubled waters right now. Things are tense. Things are very, very tense. Hello. Hello. You want to see the dogs? You want to get on the camera? Hi. So things are very, very tense. There's a lot they're not making a big deal about in the news, mostly because they don't want to start a stampede. But it's we're down to the wire. It's scary, right? It's scary. So put your mind where it belongs. Think about us navigating this ship through troubled waters and coming out of it in one whole piece, all passengers intact and on board. Because we need you to put your mind there where it is, right? And be open to information. The most important thing with this new moon conjunct Uranus is that, again, Uranus is information. Good, bad, or indifferent, it is still information. And just like the astrologer who's complaining and complaining and complaining about how his viewerships have dropped and this, that, and the other thing, but has his comments turned off, so nobody has any way to reach him to give him information that would help solve the problem. Don't be that guy, right? So be open to receiving information, even if it's not information that you're wanting to hear. All information is good information because if it will help you solve a problem. So that's it. Hopefully this will help. If you have any questions, put them in the comment box. And again, this is a subscriber exclusive, which means I'm only just doing this video now specifically so the subscribers get notification of it in time. And if you're not a subscriber and this was useful for you, you might want to consider subscribing, because we'll be doing a lot more videos, last minute videos like this that only subscribers get before the bomb drops, the truth bomb. So that's it. And if you enjoyed this recording, let me know. I've got a new cell phone and it does this dual recording thing, which I'm kind of digging. It's nice to have someone look at other than me. And I'm going to go take my sleep-deprived, happy behind home and try and get some rest. It's a lot. It's just a lot. And also, too, just a real quick note, for those of you who are empathic or sensitive or psychic, you may have been really struggling this last couple of weeks as well. Or maybe it's just me. But it's been difficult out here. So take care of yourself and understand that we just got to get through this process. Nobody is supposed to be relaxed and having a good time right now, because this is not a happy, relaxed, good time in the world. All right? We'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.